Hi there. Good to be back. Thanks for joining, Stephen, Mayank. So, any updates from either of you? I haven't had much chance to spend any time at all as I was on the road constantly.
I think I'm here twice, somehow again.
Yep.
You can hear me okay? Yeah.
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 I can hear you.
I'm not sure where my second connections come from.
Oh, you dropped. The second one dropped.
All right, cool. Yeah, my Zoom thing doesn't work anymore, so I joined through a browser, but then the other one joins as well. So,
You have a mysterious duplicate.
yeah. So, yeah, like the last time it was like I had about 3 different ones joining.
Oh
In
boy.
terms of the competition, yeah. So it looks as if pretty much everybody's been stuck at 8.2.2 or whatever. So there haven't been any
Yeah,
updates
I
in the
just
public
the
notebooks.
only thing I did, Steve, was I checked the leaderboard, and I think the leaderboard has moved. I mean, it was around that, but it's moved to 8 or something right now.
Yeah, there's a few people who have sort of managed to get out of the 8.2.2. Everybody else is like sort of stuck. There's about several hundred people on 8.2.2, all with the public notebook, I think. Yeah, so like I'm at
Yeah.
8.2.2 with the public notebook. Yeah, so I've just been trying that and like in training a new DiBerta model. And then like Chris Diot, he published like another notebook, it was like SVR thing, where you just like take the vectors out of untrained DiBertas or whatever, and then combine them and see what it gives you. So yeah, like it
Oh,
gives
really? I haven't.
8.07.
So he's published a new notebook of. I mean, of course, I've been completely gone the last 2 weeks, but he published something which does a slightly different approach, or
Yeah, so it's I'd seen him using it before because it uses like like rapids, which is what NVIDIA, who I think he works for or whatever. So it uses the rapids thing, and then as I say, like it was using like about 5 different untrained DiBerta models or whatever of different sizes, and then yeah, so he sticks the text data through that, and then you like just look at the vector of the output data, and then sort of combine that, and then yeah, like get an okay score. I'm pretty sure that in one of the previous competitions, what we did was we took some of our trained DiBerta models and put them into like the SVR thing, and it gave better scores because like obviously like the model had been tuned onto the data. But yeah, I tried that. It didn't give me any improvement. So, but I only tried it very
yeah. In
quickly.
fact, I had seen actually one of the 822 scores, the one I used before I just left. I need to go back and look at that in more detail. But my recollection of that was he combines the two approaches, right? Like he combines all these humongous features that he does, and then feature generation bottom up, like counting words, blah, 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 all that stuff, and then putting it through the XGBoost. And then he also takes the DiBerta trained model and puts that through XGBoost, and then kind of makes the ensemble of the two. But the thing I forgot to mention is in that one of the twists that he did, I recall, is using the prior competition where we had participated. I think he won even silver in that or something. That just judging the arguments competition, and he used the model from that, the DiBerta model from that, to generate the either the outputs or something like that. I'm kind of the details I'm fuzzy on because it was a couple of weeks, 3 weeks back that I looked at it. But the fact is he uses DiBerta model trained on this data, then DiBerta model trained on the prior competition data, but then also using that model is, I think, one of the inputs, and then all this bottom-up feature building and combines all three to create the score of 0.822.
Yeah, so that's what I've been using. Yeah, so like as you say, you've got like all the text pre-processing or whatever, and then yeah, like the original notebook that got to about 820, it took yeah, somebody trained a Deberta large, and like it was like trained on categorization, so it had like 6 outputs. So those 6 outputs, they would put those as features into the LGBM, and then the next step was somebody, as well as using like whatever it was LGBM, they used cat boost as well, and so like it gave a bit of a boost, a bit of like an improvement in the score. And then, as you say, so the best public notebook at the minute, the person had like incorporated like a model from the whatever it was, the sentiment analysis or whatever, where there was like like where you're saying like how well the text sort of flows or whatever. There was like 6 categories, so they've incorporated that. Yeah, so like that's sort of the best model that's there at the minute.
Yeah, the couple of things I wanted to try with just this approach, sticking with the same approach that, I obviously haven't done it, but I was thinking that this could help, is I believe that somebody had posted a lot of additional data that one could train on.
Oh yeah, I tried that as well. It's like yeah, like so this competition data is all taken from data called Persuade 2.0. And like
Right.
the Persuade 2.0 data is about 4 or 5 times the size of like the Kaggle data, and the Kaggle data is a subset of the Persuade data. Yeah, so I tried that. Yeah, like I just tried training purely on the Persuade data as opposed to the Kaggle data, and it gave me like a better CV score. But like when I actually got the private leaderboard, the public leaderboard score, it was worse. So yeah, like I haven't managed to get my models to be better by using that data. There is like a whole thread though about K-folds or whatever, and how you would incorporate that data into that. So there's maybe some better way of incorporating the data, but so far I haven't been able to get any improvement using it.
Do that. 2 questions on what you tried then. Did you use a larger Deberta model when you were training, or did you use one of these small or XSmall or whatever?
No, it's all still Deberta small.
Okay. Because I was thinking. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I was referring to the training data that's available. So I looked at the discussions, Kaggle section, but I couldn't find that. So if you can.
Sorry, what was it you couldn't find?
I couldn't find the additional data set that you said it's available right now.
Oh yeah, and yeah, like a couple of people have made Kaggle data sets from it. Wait a sec, I'll find it and send you a link. But yeah, like there's like a lot of, if you look in the discussion for this competition, there's a few people like talking about the external data and like about the cross-validation strategies they have with it.
Okay.
Yes, I was wondering, because you're throwing so much more data at it, and somebody I thought, again, I'm talking from memory, so I could be wrong, but I thought in one of those discussions, somebody was mentioning that the fact, actually, they noticed that if you train large on existing data, it kind of overfits or whatever, and therefore they aren't getting a better score with large than they were getting with small. And in fact, the difference between small, and I also tried this myself, small and XSmall or something like that, the difference actually in score is not that much. I get almost as good, just barely any difference, like 7, 9 7 versus 803 or whatever between small and extra small. So the guy was commenting that maybe what ought to be done is use the large data, but then use a larger model to go with it so that the larger data actually helps you train the larger model. So that's why I was asking whether you're trained with the small model or the larger model. Right. So maybe worthwhile to try. Of course, makes it a challenge. You'll probably have to use an A4 and all that to train it on Colab, but that was something I was thinking of doing. And similarly, the other trick, and you kind of mentioned it briefly now as well. The other trick I wanted to try was the trick you had implemented in the prior competition is instead of a 5-fold, try a 10-fold if it can fit, but memory begins to become a problem. But try that because that would also allow larger data to be provided in the training set, right, compared to validation set.
Yeah.
So those were the thoughts I had to move from 5 folds to, as much as I can get bigger, maybe 7, maybe 8 or 9 if I can get there. Something like that. 10 ideally, but I don't know whether I can get to 10 even on Colab. But that was something I was thinking of doing too. And in that case, continue to use small, but maybe try that way. So those were the thoughts I had on trying to improve using the same methodology as the current public leaderboard. Any other thoughts you have on how any other things that could be tried to kind of push the score higher, other than the two things I'm talking about, maybe bigger model and train with more data and kind of increase the folds kind of stuff?
Well, yeah, so like one of the public notebooks that got about 820, I think it was like, yeah, so like the original notebook, as you say, it was just like the pre-processing of the text, and like those were the only features that went into the LGBM. And then somebody came along and they added like the 6 extra features that were coming from the trained DiBerta model. And then another person came along and they had like 2 more DiBertas that had been trained. And so like they were like forming like an ensemble of the DiBertas and sticking it into the model. And it got like an even better score. But what they were using, like when they're doing the training, they use like the out of fold predictions, and the out of fold predictions that they were using were just purely from the first DiBerta model. They hadn't like incorporated like the other two. So like at inference time, the DiBerta features that were being added were from like 3 different DiBerta models, but like at training time, it was like effectively just from one DiBerta model. And like they did get a score boost, but what I tried to do was, like I went and like I generated like an out of fold prediction for the 3 DiBerta models. And I'm not sure, did I say to you before, then that person, they removed those 2 DiBerta models from their notebook. They made them private, and so I couldn't access them anymore. So like even though I had the out of folds predictions for training, I couldn't do inference anymore, which yes, yes, it was a pain in the arse because I'd like lost loads of GPU time creating that. So then I decided to go off and make my own DiBerta, and I was going to put the outputs of my DiBerta with the one DiBerta that still remained, and like so I've just finished training that this week, and then I've realized that the one DiBerta that's there already, it was trained on classification, so like it is like 6 outputs for like the 6 categories that we're trying to predict, whereas like the DiBerta that I've trained followed like Chris Diott's regression thing. So my DiBerta only has a single regression output rather than 6, so it's not, I can't combine it with those. So so that's one possible way of like improving things, is by making more DiBertas and combining it with the one that's there already. Because yeah, like it definitely improved things, but as I say, like to combine it with the one that's there already, I would need to have categorization one. But so what I've been trying is, yeah, like as well as the 6 categorization Deberta inputs, I've just been trying to add my single one. But yeah, I only tried it this morning, and so far it gave me a worse result. So yeah. But yeah, so like I think just combining, as I say, like sticking that into like the LGBM as a feature, and also, as I say, like Chris Diott's Rapids SVR thing, I was going to add that as another feature and see like does that help, just having like extra models going in as features.
Yeah, I think these are, but you know, these are good ideas to try. I think more data, more folds, making more Deberta models and combining. But I guess, as you say, we have to keep the self-categorization models or classification models, and then try this crispy.cdsvr thing. I haven't looked at that at all. How much time is there left? The end of the month or so for this, or 20 days or something?
I think it said there was like a month left. Just check it now. It says a month to go. It finishes on the 2nd of July. So yeah.
Ah, okay. So it's pretty much a month. Yeah.
Yep. So, and as I say, like everybody seems to have ground to a halt, and there hasn't been any public notebooks or whatever breaking the score. And yeah, like if you look at the leaderboard, the person that's in 10th place, they're on 822. So yeah, like there's and yeah, like then the next 5 above him are on 823. Yeah, so there's only like a few people who have managed to get out of the 822 thing. So
yeah, it seems like
I think if you can come up with anything unique and add it to the current public notebook, you have a good chance of getting it up the leaderboard quickly.
Yeah, I think so, because it's like, yeah, it's like you're saying, even a fraction, right, in the 3rd decimal digit thing, can make a difference in this case. The one other thing, completely different approach, but I really wanted to use the competition to kind of practically learn this skill in a sense, but I just, fell flat on my face before I left, and I was like so frustrated by it. But maybe I'll talk about it, and maybe if either of you are interested, maybe you can try and help or suggest things. And this time it may be too soon to share exactly where I'm going wrong, but so to get down to specifics, the one other approach that Chris had tried, which I really wanted to attempt myself, is he has this using an LLM to do the task approach, right? He was actually, I think, I forget now, maybe mine can recall. I think he used the Mistral 7B, but he couldn't. He tried to train it on Kaggle, and then with a with a 2 GPU configuration, but then found out that he couldn't train it on Kaggle, memory problems or something like that. And so he actually says, oh, I did it on Colab. And the thing is, he modifies the data and uses the LLM to actually predict the class. And it does, and he uses a very small amount of the data set. I think he only uses like 3,100 or 3,200 or something like that of the total amount in that current data set. I don't recall, but it's much larger than the 3,000 that he used. And if that itself, he came up with a score of like 0.7 something, 744, something in that range. So what I wanted to try was different models, right? He uses a Mistral, and there are with the QLoRa approaches and stuff, you could get Llama 3 and on the one end, Llama 3, 7 or 8 billion. With QLoRa, you could get it down to where you can kind of fine tune that on the current, on the data. But I couldn't get any of those things to work. Something or the other. In the simple case that I just following Chris Deott's notebook, the thing I ran into was I was just trying to train or implement training with his notebook, and that failed because obviously he doesn't share how he trained the model. But I assumed that it was just a variation on his notebook that he uses for inference, and that didn't work. And then I tried, following some public notebooks that existed to adopt, to modify them to use like a Llama 3 8 billion model. That didn't work. Then I said, forget this QLoRa approach. Let's just try with a smaller model like a 5.3 model, which is, I think 3.5 billion parameter or something like that, which is, the 5.3 model is fairly powerful. So it's not, nowhere near Llama 3 8 billion or Llama 3 70 billion or whatever. But the fact that you could use the entire model without having, QLoRa or something. So I was trying to fine tune that, and that failed as well. Now I'll pull up those notebooks and try it again this week, but I was just curious whether either of you would be interested in kind of trying that approach and seeing, because to me, the main reason I wanted to do it was, here is an example of, it's always easy when somebody gives you a notebook and it works for that data set. Here was a real data set available, but then you can throw different LLMs at the problem and fine tune the LLMs. So I was looking at it as an opportunity to learn to fine tune LLMs on your own data, which I haven't done before. And I just kept running into problems of all kinds. So I was just curious whether either of you would be interested in that. And if I try again and I know exactly where I'm encountering problems, whether we can discuss that next week.
Yeah, like I haven't really seen people in this competition doing that, but obviously we've sort of seen it before. Yeah, like I don't know if you fine tune an LLM on this data. As I say, like the Chris Deott thing, he's like taking the vectors out of untrained DeBertas, or well, DeBertas that haven't been specifically trained on this competition. So yeah, like perhaps if you fine tune an LLM on this competition data, then you can stick it into the SVR and it'll give better vectors out of it, and it could be incorporated into that.
Steve, he does have a notebook in this competition itself where he has exactly done what I'm talking about, which is fine-tuned Mistral 7B on this data set and then use that to infer. Unfortunately, his fine-tuning notebook is not available because he did it on Colab because it failed for memory reasons on Kaggle. So I don't have the exact code that allows the fine-tuning of Mistral 7B using two GPUs that he has done on Colab. I don't know whether he used 2 GPUs on Colab. He just said, I used a V100 to train it. It may not even be on Colab because Colab no longer supports V100. But he just said, I trained this and then I infer using this. So I kind of used this inference notebook and tried to modify it to get it to train, but that didn't work for me. So he completed the full effort through an example and got like 0.744, which, given that he was only using 3,000 examples, if you had more compute and stuff, you could throw more fine-tuning data at it and get the model I assume to perform better. But I just completely fell on my face when I tried it with Mistral. I tried it with Llama 3. I tried it with both of them. I tried with QLoRa. Then I also tried with, I think there is something called Sloth or something, Unsloth or something like that. I used that and a variant of a notebook. And then I also tried 5.3 version, because then you don't have to use QLoRa. The 5.3 model is small enough that you can probably do it without, you can fine tune without using the LoRa and QLoRa techniques. But none of them work for me.
All right. As I say, like I know I've done it before, but I haven't done it in this competition. So, yeah, perhaps.
Yeah,
as I
so
say,
if I'll
could
try
use
it again this week, and maybe bring up where I'm running into problems, and I can be more specific and ask for suggestions so we can look at what's going wrong in the code.
Yeah, like I've spent my whole time.
Have you had a chance with fine tuning on LLMs on any of your own data? And have you tried it in this competition?
No, I haven't. I was trying on the Unslots notebook and the Chris Dior's one, but I haven't got success with my own data. Right now, I'm stuck trying out different approaches there. Yeah, so that's where I am. Yeah, Steve,
you were going to say something.
Yeah, I've just been spending all my time trying to get my Deberta small model to give me the best like CV score I can by, yeah, like as I say, like I tried the other data set. Like in the past we've seen what do you call it, AWP, the weight perturbation thing. So like I added that in,
yeah.
and I added in like in this data set as well. It's like very imbalanced, like all the classes like sort of 2, 3, 4 or whatever. There's like loads of samples, whereas like 1 and 6 there's not many. So yeah, like I tried data balancing and things like that, but it didn't seem to help either. But yeah, so like I'm just using Deberta small. And I've trained the 5 folds on that, and it gives me 0.807 just from the Deberta small, so it's pretty good. It's but yeah, I just finished training that, so I just wanted to try and incorporate that now into my bigger model that gets the 822 to see can I add it in and get an improvement out of that, but I haven't got that far yet.
So, are you trying out on Colab or are you using Kaggle right now?
Oh no, I trained it all on Colab because yeah, it was like it took a long time to train. So yeah, like it would have killed my GPU on Kaggle. But yeah, I noticed like on Kaggle as well, there's like a person, the 822 person, they do like it's like an interesting technique or whatever. They're like training like 15 folds of their LGBM, but they have it set like if the number of test samples is 3, which is like like a sort of the test data set. If it's like that, then they only do like 1 fold, and so you can save your model and you can check that your LGBM training is working okay. But like then when they do the submission, because the submission doesn't come out of your GPU quota, at that point they train the entire 15 folds. But it does end up taking like 4 or 5 hours to do your submission, but at least it's not coming out of your own GPU. So yeah, I thought it was like quite a neat sort of solution to that.
So you're saying just do 1 fold during your actual inference, but then when you submit, have some kind of a switch for submission, or how do they do that though?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So when you save your notebook, at that point, there's only 3 samples in the test set. So you check that and you see like if the size of the test set is equal to 3, then you just do 1 fold, which that'll save and like it'll produce you your submission.csv file. And then when you submit, it runs the notebook again, but like this time the test set is the full test set, so there's more than 3. So at that point, it does the 15 folds. But because of the fact that it doesn't come out of your GPU quota when you do a submit. It means you can like do the 4 or 5 hours training at that point, and it doesn't come out of your own quota. So
Yeah, it doesn't come out of your own quota. I mean, I didn't
Quota.
understand.
no, when you do
Yeah,
a
no,
submit,
it's
yeah, when you submit your notebook, it's like for free. It doesn't take out of
Ah,
your GPU
on Kaggle.
okay,
time.
that on Kaggle. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
So
Yeah, that's a neat technique. I think I want to. I think I have created a shared thing. I want to put this technique into that notes too, because it's a clever technique, right? Like increasingly usages. I think in the last several competition, I've always seen a very small, even the prior one where we did, I forget now what it was, but whatever. Oh, the images. I think they were only like 1 or 2 or 3 in the test set, but then when you actually run it, then it's much larger. So this technique will really help, right? And conversely, I think in the real world also, we could probably, I mean, here he's doing it in order to save the GPU from being counted. But the flip side, I think, is also that in the real world, if we want to do it, then we should probably have a very small test set, like 2 or 3, and then make sure it works on that, and then try it on a much larger data set. So both of those approaches, I think, are fairly worthwhile noting down to remember. Right?
yeah. Can you see my screen here? Sorry.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, the other thing I found this week, which I hadn't seen before, so like this notebook here is, it's the 822, the one that's like top of the public leaderboard score for like shared code. It uses these utility scripts, which I'd never seen before. And like basically what these are is they are they're like the person's notebooks, but you can go in if you like. I'm not sure if I can edit this one, but if you go in and like edit your notebook and you go to like file, within the file menu here, you can choose to set it as a utility script. And effectively, I'm not sure if you remember before, in some competitions we've done in the ensembles, we've saved off like notebooks. You download the notebook and then you like load it back and make a data set, and then you can run your
Right.
notebook. You can like do run with a Linux command or whatever to run it. Whereas like this one here, this utility script thing, you can set one of your notebooks to be like a utility script, which effectively then when you come into it is effectively the same. So like here you can see like this guy's got 3. So these are effectively like 3 notebooks that he's included in here. And it effectively sort of turns them into like Python files. And so like it means
And
you
how
can
does he
call,
run them?
well then at the bottom, yeah, so these 3, so he's got like 3 utility scripts, which are effectively 3 other notebooks, which have been turned into Python. And so you can see here, it's like a py extension. And then down the
Right.
bottom, so like here, this one here, it's like actually this one. Yeah, so like this one here, that's effectively like a notebook, but he just like includes it here and then includes the functions out of it. So if you go to here, and it means you can call functions out of other notebooks. So if you
Okay. So
if you open that in a new
it's
tab, yeah, so like this here, this is one of the other notebooks, and it's like got all the functionality in it. Whereas by including it as like one of these utility scripts, you can just call the function directly in your other notebook. So you don't need to do the thing that we did before where you download the notebook and create a data set out of it. You can just include your other notebook directly in and like access its functions.
and the benefit here is if you're not using the entire notebook but functions within the notebook, then you can do this, right? And not do it the way of creating a data set.
Yeah. So like if you want to like make an ensemble of several different notebooks, you can just turn them all into utility scripts and then like run the functions for each one and get its results back and then combine them together. So like in this case, so this is, as I say, like this is like the public notebook with the highest score at the minute. So you can see there's like not very much to it. And the reason there's not very much to it is because all the functionality is over in his other notebook over here. So like this is where all the magic happens or whatever. This is where he's like doing all the predictions and stuff and whatever. But yeah, so I'd never seen that before. I think it's like a new thing that Kaggle have added in to allow you to use utility scripts.
So the advantage, you could still do what we were doing before, which is to make the notebooks into a data set. But in that case, I would think that we were utilizing the entire notebook. I thought the benefit of doing it this way is that you could tap into specific functions from the other notebook rather than having to run the entire notebook. Is that true, or is that misunderstanding?
Yeah, no,
meaning?
Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah, so like as you can see, yeah, previously we would like download a notebook, create a data set, and then you would run the entire notebook. So like it would run everything in the notebook and create a submission, and then you would get that submission file and use it in your ensemble. Whereas you can see here what this is doing, it's like targeting specific functions in a notebook. So it means that, yeah, like you can like reuse functions and stuff. So
yeah, because he's just kind of like utilizing the pre-process function, which is generating all these features, and then just calling that.
Yeah, so you can see like, yeah, so here, this utility script, this here is like a notebook, and this is the notebook, and here he's just calling that function in the notebook, as opposed to, as you said, like previously the way we did it, you had to run the entire notebook. You didn't have any sort of control over it. So yeah.
Yeah, and also the advantage I see is if you are using this function, let's say in multiple notebooks, you can go back and update the function. And once you update the function in the base notebook, then all the notebooks utilizing these scripts will automatically update, I assume.
Yeah, and also as well, when you've got like here, as I say, to do it, to get a notebook to be a utility script, you need to go like in the file menu, and as I say, you click on this set as utility script. But you can also, you can change it. You can go into editor type. So here the editor type is a notebook, but you could turn it into a script if you want as well. And if you turn it into a script, it combines all the cells together. So effectively it just turns your
Python file.
Jupyter notebook into a Python file. So yeah, so like it's a good way to like reuse code.
Right. Yeah. That's the other thing is that's well, I wasn't thinking, but I think I just stumbled on the other advantage with this, right? Is if we did this, create a data set approach, then we would have to, if we updated the notebook, we would have to go back and recreate a new data set, right?
Yes, because yeah, like that's what I've been doing. I had like my Deberta model or whatever, and I had a whole notebook, and then the whole notebook was like doing extra stuff. So I had to go back in and create a whole new notebook and add it into the data set.
Right. Whereas with this approach, if you make that a script, or and if you're calling function from it and stuff, then if you update the script, then I'm assuming that it automatically takes the current script, right? So that the additional human process of creating the data set is avoided.
I presume so, yeah. Like, yeah, you can go here, check for updates. Yeah, so like if you'd saved that other notebook, if you'd made a change and saved the notebook, then we do check for updates, it'll bring you in the new version.
Right, and so you don't have to go through the whole manual create a data set process.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
so I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure when Kaggle added this in, but yeah, like it looks as if it'd be quite useful.
Yeah, definitely. That's cool. I think I'll add the details, but I'll definitely add this to the set of tips and tricks going forward as well that we can use. That's cool.
So what was the utility script used for in this notebook?
The utility script in this notebook is, it's like all the well, he's got two. So he's got one that does like all the pre-processing of the Kaggle data set into like making the text features. And then the second one is the actual sort of inference to train the LGBM.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like effectively, it is just as if you have like sort of Python files that you're referring to, but it means that you can like run them as normal Kaggle notebooks and get those bits and pieces working, and then combine them together into a single Jupyter notebook without having to cut and paste all the code in. You just refer to your other notebook.
Yeah.
Or even what Steve started, and I followed him in the approach of like we could import a notebook and use that. But in that case, you're kind of like taking the notebook as is and running that notebook itself. But in this case, the additional flexibility you have is you don't have to run the entire notebook, either by importing the notebook as is and using the notebook in your other notebook, or in creating a data set from the first notebook and importing it and using that. Using the first notebook as a script, the advantages that we talked about, right? Like you could just use functions from it rather than running the entire notebook, and B, as Steve just showed, you can kind of like whatever did you show how to update script? Where, in which menu part did it exist, Steve? You just shared, some updating option, right?
Yeah, it's just in the file menu of the notebook. Sorry, can you see my screen again?
Yes.
Yeah. So here, so like this is just like a normal Kaggle Jupyter notebook. But
right.
So if you wanted to turn this Jupyter notebook into something that would be a utility script that you could add to another Jupyter notebook, you go to here, you go File, and then you do Set as Utility Script. So like
right, and then
in
the utility scripts you had that when you clicked on the right side, then it could you could update it automatically, right? Meaning like you just click that.
So if you click on one of these and click on the three dots, you get check for updates.
Check for updates.
And like here, if you go to add input, like somewhere.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not sure where it is, but somewhere in here it would give you
your work or not. Right?
And it would
and
show
then
you
have to add that notebook.
Yeah, and then when you add it, then rather than adding it as a notebook, it'll like add as your utility script, and then you can call the functions in it.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm not sure what all these other bits. Those must be just the output of the notebook. But
yeah, I think it's just the entire notebook along with all its outputs and log files and everything. But it's kind of cool that.
Yeah, it's turned the notebook into a Python file, but it's put the outputs as well.
Yeah. Cool though. But they do some work, but and the thing that frustrates me sometimes is they keep changing the UI, and that kind of throws me off sometimes.
Yeah. I wish they would like introduce the feature to have folders for your notebooks, because at the minute, if you go to like your code, it's just one huge list of everything you've ever done.
Right.
And like most of the stuff I've ever done is like rubbish. But there's a few of the notebooks I'd like to keep and squirrel them off into like a good notebook file. But
right. Final notebooks for competition or something, and kind of put some hey, this is the final thing I want to save for this competition. So you can go back and look at not this 50 files that you've run and wonder which one mattered and which one didn't.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So cool. I think have some ideas of what to at least try over the next week and see whether we can, like you say, even get a fraction of a fraction improvement.
Yeah. So as I say, like if you can get even the smallest improvement at the minute, you'll jump up massively on the leaderboard. And as I say, like position number 10's at 822. So if you can get to 823, you're in the money.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not. You might be. You're in the gold medal place. So.
All right. Anything else
Not from me.
anyone? Anything, Mayank?
Yeah, no, not for me. Thanks.
Okay. Good deal. Hey, good to be back, and hopefully at least one of us will push past 822 over the next week. And I'll try the LLM approach, and we can spend some time on. If I can get it to work, that'd be great. I can share results, but if not, then at least maybe a few more eyes on it can tell me where I'm going wrong and what else to try.
Yeah, as I say, it would be interesting if you can combine that with Chris Diott's SVR thing. You can put the two together. Yeah, because his SVR was getting 809, I think it was. So like if you had like a trained LLM in that, then it should give like a bit of a boost on that.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I'll take a look at that notebook as well.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at that one yet. All righty. Thanks for joining.
Okay.
And see you all next week.
Cheers. See you next week, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Bye.